They could have already have left their tanks, dismounted, and moved in on foot and be infiltrating into Benghazi at this time. We just don't have enough information to really know. So it's a question. I don't think we're going to see Gaddafi back off. He's probably going to want a day or two show of strength to see if he can finish this job and present
He's the motor for the
powers of
car.
the world with a fait accompli.
And General Clark, we heard from a witness in Misrata, along the Mediterranean coast there, that Gaddafi forces are shelling, that they're going door to door.
To be mindful of that.
How important will you see this ultimately, that some Arab nations have to be involved military, not just as symbolic support?
He looked out the door.
For instance, United Arab Emirates might have the air support equivalent that of the French or Canadians to be...
From all the international organizations and the many nations that were participating in Paris. And I think the more they can do, the better it is for everyone in terms of the outcome.
Has there ever been an airstrike campaign to enforce a no-fly zone to ensure the protection of civilians that has been successful without the use eventually of ground forces?
Well, every situation is unique. We've not quite had this same circumstance. In Bosnia, when we had a no-fly zone, we also had UN forces on the ground, and even they weren't that effective ultimately, why we had to have the Dayton peace talks and NATO intervention to stop the fighting in Bosnia. When we did the no-fly zone over Iraq, we did threaten Saddam Hussein. We were able, through the use of air power and a small detachment of some three-letter government agency people on the ground in Kurdistan, to deter the Iraqi forces from invading further into Kurdistan from 1991 on. But when it came to helping the Shia in the south, when they revolted and the revolt was crushed by Saddam in the spring of 1991, no, air power... There's not anything you can do when it gets into close fighting from the air. You're pretty much reduced to attacking the logistics trail and trying to hit command and control. But
after that
there's
ball.
lots more that these aircraft can do that they haven't done. If they're only flying over eastern Benghazi, if they're only shooting at armored vehicles, they could move up the chain of command. They can go after the command centers and the radio transmitters and a lot of other things. They can do a lot more damage.
But so many have said, who've been observers of this situation, also military officials are saying, not necessarily on the record, this is a war. This is the beginning of a long-winded effort that could turn ugly.
Well, I think that's everyone's
Dribbling it
concern.
around.
When
He
you
was.
undertake an intervention like this, no matter how carefully you try to limit the objectives, and certainly President Obama did try to do that, and Secretary Clinton did very clearly try to limit those objectives.